Right, we're looking at fractions next week. I'm going to try and cover a lot in this video. It can be quite tricky to understand and explain what fractions are and how we can use them, how we can add them together, how we can show them in different ways. So I hope this will make it a little bit clearer when we do it next week. I'm looking at representing fractions. This is different ways of showing fractions. Okay, so what is a fraction? Well, a fraction is part of the whole thing. This is a pizza, and this is the whole pizza, the whole one right here. But I don't want the whole pizza. I want part of it, and actually want to split it exactly in two, and I want this part here. So how do I show that I want that part there? Well, I use a fraction. And I can write a fraction first by I look at how many parts I've split my whole into, and I've split it into 2 parts. So I put a 2 down here with a line above it, and above the line I write how many parts I took out. In this case, how many parts I ate. Well, I only ate 1 part, so this is my fraction, 1/2, or you might know that as a half. 1/2. So that's great. I can draw it as a picture, and I can write it as a fraction. Remember, how many parts I split it into goes on the bottom, and how many parts I am interested in, or how many parts I ate, or how many parts I take out is at the top. I also want to show you how to show that as something called a bar model. And we use bar models a lot. They're really useful. So I draw my bar, and guess how many sections I split my bar into? Yep, 2, because that's what my diagram shows, that's what my fraction shows. So I'm going to split it exactly down the middle. Be very precise about that. Both parts have to be exactly the same, otherwise it's not a fraction, it's not a true fraction. Let's try and do that with a few other things. Well, here is a bar of chocolate. That's a whole bar of chocolate right there. Bar of chocolate often comes sort of ready to be split into different sections. So I'm not going to eat the whole bar of chocolate. I'm going to split it this way, and I'm going to split it this way, and I'm going to eat, what shall I eat? Well, first, how many ways have I split it? I'll split it 1, 2, 3, 4. Why not split it again into how many pieces have we got there? We've got 8 pieces, so I'm going to write 8 at the bottom for my fraction, and I'm going to eat, let's have that bit, yum yum, that one too, and that one, and oh, why not this one up here? So how many pieces have I eaten? 1, 2, 3, 4, so I want my 4 on the top, so I've eaten 4 pieces out of 8, 4/8. So that's another fraction, 4/8 is exactly what this shows. And I can draw my bar model, and I'm going to try and make it exactly the same size as the one above. And how many sections am I going to split my bar into? Well, how many sections did I split my chocolate into? 8. So I'm not going to draw it like this. I'm going to draw all the lines going down, and the best way to do that is halve my bar, halve the halves, and then half what's left. And I have got a bar split into 8, and I shade in how many pieces? 4 pieces. And I've just realised I've forgotten to shade in my one of the 2 pieces up here. We're going to do one more, so I'm going to look at the picture, and I'm going to turn this into a fraction. So let's say this is a biscuit. I'm on a diet, so I'm not going to eat the whole biscuit. I'm going to split it how many ways? 4 ways. So already I know the bottom of my fraction is going to be 4. That's how many ways I split it. And how many should I eat? Well, I've just eaten half a pizza and 4 pieces of chocolate bar, so I'm just going to eat that much of my biscuit, which is just how many of those 4 pieces? 1. So it's 1 of 4 pieces. Because it's 4, we don't say 1/4, we say 1/4. And I'm going to draw that as a bar here, and I'm going to try and make my bar exactly the same size as the others. How many ways do you think I split my bar? Yeah, 4 ways, because I split my biscuit 4 ways. Here on my fraction I can see that I've got 4 parts to my fraction. So 1, 2, split these again. Every part is exactly the same size. And how many should I shade in? 1 of those 4 parts. It's actually, if you use squared paper, you might think it's easier, but squared paper can often make it harder because you start shading in the squares on the paper. Okay, so now if someone shows me a picture of a hole and how many parts they split it into and how many parts they shade in, I can write a fraction for each one, and I can also draw a bar model for each one. So here's some for you to have a go at. Oh, those are the answers. Look away. There we go, that's better. So if you pause the video now, see if for each picture you can write the fraction and you can show the bar model. Okay, so here we go. The first one we split it into 2. So 2 on the bottom, we've shaded in one of those 2 parts, so it's 1 over 2 or a half. The bar model shows the bar split into 2 with 1 part shaded in. Next one, we split it into 4. Hard to see maybe, but it's 4. So 4 on the bottom of our fraction. And I shaded in 3 this time. We're not counting this one, we're counting the ones I shaded in. So it's 3 over 4. You might know that as 3/4. And our bar model shows 3 out of 4 bits shaded in. Should be the same size. And this one is, again, we split our pizza or biscuit or circle into 4 parts, so 4 on the bottom. And one of those is shaded in, so it's 1 over 4, 1/4. And I've got the bar with 1 bit shaded in. This last one's a bit tricky. They often do this in tests to see if you can understand the picture. So it's split into how many parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the number on the bottom of our fraction should be 8. And how many parts are shaded in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the fraction should be 5/8, is it? Yep, 5/8. And again, gets harder to draw. But the more you practice, the better you'll be at this. There should be 8 sections of my bar, and 5 of them should be shaded in. If you can do this, you're doing really well, particularly if, say, you were given a fraction and you could draw a bar model of it, or if you were given a bar model and you could write it as a fraction. So if you can do this in different ways, you're doing really, really well. All right, next. What if we were to start adding up some fractions? Okay, so let's have a look. This one here. So these pictures show 2 fractions of things, and I want to add them together. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write these as fractions. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 parts I've split that square into, and I've shaded in 1 part. So it's going to be 1 part of 4. And this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to write 4 here. And 2 parts are shaded in. 2 over 4 equals. Now I can draw this as a bar model, but I'm actually only going to draw 1 bar, not 2 bars. And I'm going to split my bar into, well, you tell me how many sections? 4, because that's what I split my squares into. And this is how I would think about it. I'd think, well, first I've got 1 part out of 4. So I'm going to shade in 1 part out of 4. And then I'm going to add on 2 parts out of 4. Well, here's 4. Let's add on another 2 parts. how many parts of 4 have I got now? I've got 1, 2, 3 parts out of the 4. So my answer here is going to be 3 parts of the 4 I have now, which is 3/4. I'll do one more with you and then you can do a couple. So again, I'm going to change this into fractions. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the bottom. It's called a denominator, and I've shaded in 1, which is my numerator. Don't worry too much about those terms for now. And again, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can count them slowly. So that goes on the bottom. And how many have I shaded in? Let's have a look, see if it can focus. Oh, struggling. 1, 2, 3. There's actually 3 parts shaded in there. So now, when I draw my bar, try and make it the same size as the one above. Straight down the middle. That's 4. Remember, I need 8 sections of my bar. There we go. And I'm going to colour in, well, 1 part of the 8 I have, and then I add on another 3 parts of the 8. 1, 2, 3. How many parts do I have altogether now? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 out of the 8. So I have 4 out of the 8. So 1/8 plus 3/8 equals 4/8. Okay, if you pause the video, try and do this one. Change it into fractions first, and then draw it as a bar model and add those bits together. Okay, let's have a look. Well, those circles are split into 8 again, and the first one shows 2 parts out of 8. This one's split into 8, so that's 3 parts out of 8. Draw the bar, and let's colour in. We start with 2 parts, then we have another 3 parts which we're going to add on. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts of 8, or 5/8 is our answer. Now you might want to try this one. This one I don't give you any pictures. You just have to draw a bar model to add those 2 fractions together. If you pause the video now and try it. So again, let's show the bar model. Now this is much harder to draw because it's out of 6. So to draw a bar model out of 6, I draw a bar and split it down the middle, and then I try and draw 2 lines equally in each box. And that shows 6. Right, so I've got my bar showing that I've split it into 6. I'm going to start with 2. I'm adding on another. How many parts of 6? 3. 1, 2, 3. So how many have I got altogether now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have got 5/6. That's my answer. Now my phone's about to run out of battery, so let's see if we can do one last one. You might get given a problem like this. Oh, it looks terrible, doesn't it? It's not actually that hard. If you want, you can pause the video and see if you can do this. Turn each one into a fraction, show that as a bar model, see if you can work out the answer. Off you go. Okay, so let's count how many sections we split these boxes into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I know my fraction is going to be out of 8, and it's the same for each one. And here we have 1, 2, 3. 3/8. Just 1/8 here, and another 3/8, but coloured in a different way. So we're going to add those together on a bar model. And again, I'm going to draw my bar model with how many sections in it? Well, 8, because that's what my fraction shows. And I'm going to take 3 first. That's 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to add on 1/8. So 1/8 there, I'm going to add on 3 more eighths. 1, 2, 3. How many eighths have I got now? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. So 3/8 plus 1/8 plus 3/8 equals 7/8. You might have noticed a pattern that the bottom number in our fraction doesn't change, but you're just adding together all the parts of that 8. Right. Stop there if you want to. As a bonus, as an extra one, there's something that you might want to think about. How do I represent a whole as a fraction? This is my pizza. I'm going to eat the whole thing. I'm not sharing it with anyone. I'm going to eat everything. Can I write that as a fraction? Can I write that as 2 numbers with a line in the middle? I'm not just going to say it's 1. I'm going to write it as a fraction. Well, I can, because I can say, how many parts are there? Well, there's just 1. There's 1 part. That's the whole thing. So I'm going to write 1 underneath. How many of those parts am I taking? How much am I eating? Well, I'm going to eat the whole part. 1. I'm going to eat the whole lot. So my fraction, to show that I'm having all of this, is 1/1. There's only one thing there, and I'm having the whole thing. So 1/1 is the same as just saying I'm taking the one thing. And again, if I had a pizza and I split it into 4, but then I ate all 4 parts, my fraction would be 4/4. And 4/4, it doesn't equal 4. It still equals, well, it's the same, isn't it? That is the same as that, still equals 1. If I had a pizza, split it in half, so that would be out of 2. But then I ate both halves, I took both of them. I would have 2 out of 2 halves. And that's the same as, well, look, it's still 1 pizza, it's not 2 pizzas. I haven't doubled my pizza. I've still got 1 pizza. Right, that's a lot of learning in 20 minutes. We're going to have a go at that next week.